candy in your room.
Hey. It's like there's 5 days,
Is he?
He's on?
Are you handsome?
Come on.
Of course I'm handsome.
The hair.
I am handsome. I got hair on my shirt.
Brush it.
Sean?
Do I have to go down the shape or what?
Sean?
No, you
You
can
can't
start
see those
chat.
hairs hang down?
No.
Sean?
No, you're supposed to close that wrong button.
The shirt? It's too warm.
Recording.
Yeah, it's recording
You
now.
want to pull that up, Abe?
Grandpa, it's recording.
Is
No.
it?
It is.
It is.
Don't put me on.
To the right.
You don't want to be on it?
Sure, see, well,
Whoa.
see my bed
Those
I
things
had.
work when you do them right. When'd you get married, Grandma? Just kidding.
Well, Grandpa, we'll just let you start talking.
Well, if I do that, it isn't much fun for the rest of them. You lose contact, you know. It's
Mom?
better to follow it through.
Kim was telling me last night that you had some stories from when you were growing up, or you were telling me, thought this would be good to get on video.
She has a lot of stories.
Start with the war.
No,
You work up to it.
start from the beginning.
Okay.
I can't start in the beginning.
Okay, now, let's
I
start with
I
the...
really still don't know what be the best for them because there's so many things.
Start with the war stories. Those are interesting. Huh?
Hmm?
The war stories on how you escaped out of camp and...
How did you get drafted? Did you get drafted into the war?
Drafted. I was in the service, but they gave me the choice to join the Waffen SS or else, so I ended up in the camp.
Now you're going to stay here with Sean.
So you already signed up for it already?
Hmm?
You already signed up to be in the army and stuff?
I had no choice.
Alright.
That was the Dutch army under German control. Waffen SS was all German.
So you
Is it
had to do
loud
what
enough?
they said?
And they, since I was 6'2" and blonde and blue eyes, I belonged to the super race. That's what Hitler said in those days. And so we had all potential and all privileges, but also it wasn't fun, you know, in the war. Grandpa felt they were their enemies, so. Anyway, you want me to talk?
Yep.
In Holland in 1940, in May, on Sunday morning, there was all kinds of noise, and the airplanes had come over for hours. And we didn't know what was going on. It was not on the radio. But when I listened to the noise outside, I could hear they were speaking German. Which meant then we had German soldiers in our town. We were about 50 miles away from the German border. On the southeast side of Holland, there is a state that is very small, and the Dutch people never tried to defend it. If Germany was going to come in, they would let that go because it wasn't over 40 miles wide. And if they shot over it, they would head into Belgium. I mean, it was just not worth it. And so they just let it, and the Germans just ran in. Well, there were a bunch of trucks coming in loaded with German soldiers. This was Sunday morning. There was a teenage girl, a couple of years older than 7. She was driving down the road on Sunday morning, and the first truck with German soldiers passed by. And you know how the soldiers are, and even Grandpa, we whistle at the girls when we get a chance, you know. And so those German soldiers did that. But you know, the girl thought the same thing that Grandpa was thinking. I remember I was 18 years then. And she thought by herself, yesterday, Saturday, we were neighbors in country. Today, we're enemies. So she wouldn't smile back and she looked the other way. And the second truck, the guy that was driving that one, the chauffeur, he got mad about the haughtiness of this girl. And he decided he was going to run her down with his truck. And so he put his foot on the pedal and the truck shot forward. When it did, all of a sudden, when the back wheel, the front of the truck was just about hitting the back wheel of the bike, the bike was taken up with the girl, and the truck shot under the girl and got through, and then the bike was let down. The reason I tell you this, we have guardian angels, and Grandpa has many stories about where the angels were protecting me when I came through the war and through this period being with the underground. And so I have a book home, and it's full of stories of angels, of happenings, of places and names. They're not made up, they're real stories. And so during your lifetime, sometimes you have that you say, I don't know how I made it, but I made it. You get into a traffic jam and it looks like you're going to get killed or somebody's going to hit you, and somehow you get out of it. And many times the guardian angels are at work for us and we don't even know. And like I said, I have many, many stories. Well, now where you're sitting, Clem and I were in America. Now, the number one reason for us to come to America was not for the money. It was not because we couldn't speak English. It was not we couldn't bring in more than $350. And we had 3 kids at the time. It was because we wanted to be married in the temple and have our children sealed to us. That's why we're here. However, I have believed, last night I mentioned that if you ask me, what are the most important things to you, Grandpa, I would say, first thing, I'm alive. Second, I have freedom of choice. I know that the laws of cause and effect are eternal. So if I choose to be successful, I have to apply the law of success. If I choose to be a pain, I apply the principles of being a pain. If I want to make progress, I should apply those laws. If I want to have integrity, if I want to be honest, if I don't want to lie, I can apply those laws, or I can apply other ones. It is sometimes very important. Your great-grandmother taught me, my mother, to be honest and not to lie. She said, don't lie, don't lie. And I just hated to lie. I didn't do it, period. And when I was in a camp in Germany, I had a boss there, and he kind of treated me kind of special. I could speak German a little, and Dutch, of course, and very little French, but just about nothing. I had forgotten most of it. But because I was blonde and was tall, he treated me quite nice. However, I had to work at night, and I stood in front of this long oven, and they ran steel plates through it, and they would go into a big basin. it fluid in it. I don't know what was in there, but by the time the place came out in the end, they were so hard if you shot a bullet at it, they wouldn't go through. And so we made bulletproof steel in the factory. And Grandpa had to work from 10 until 6 in the morning, 7 days a week. We worked day and night, and it never stopped. And Grandpa was mad because he didn't want to be in Germany. He felt they were my enemies, and I told my boss that. I told him, I feel that you're my enemy. If you had left me alone in Holland, you would be my friend. And he was very good about it. He never got upset with me. And so then, when I finally decided to escape, I told him that I was going to get out, and he said, "You'd never make it. They have guards there, and nobody seemed to be able to get out of that place." I worked with a Frenchman. He came from the University of Paris, and he could speak German fluently. So him and I did a lot of talking. He had escaped twice, and both times they caught him. And they told him if he would do it again, they would shoot him. Now that was not just a story, they meant it. And so they told me that I would be in dire trouble if I would try to escape. I told them I would do it anyway. But after I escaped, he waited 10 days before he reported me missing. That was very interesting. He was completely out of line as far as the German regime is concerned, but he was protecting me, and I had been home and already gone. Little sideline is that when you see the dock over there, I had a friend, and we were in the service together, and he made the same choice as I, and we ended up both in the same camp. But he was afraid of dogs. And he was just afraid of even that dog there. He was afraid of dogs. It didn't matter what kind of dog he was afraid of. And he was 18 years, just like me. We were about the same age. And so he stood there and said, "Well, I'm leaving tonight." And he started crying and wouldn't stop. But I had my mind made up. I was going to go. Behind the factory that I had to work, there was all camps. We had Polish people, we had English people, we had French people, Dutch people, and we were all in camps, and we were all behind barbed wire, each section. And behind the camp where we were, there ran a river, and it had the rapids there, and they didn't have a fence there. They decided anybody was going to try to get through the rapids, so they were going to make the other side anyway. Now, somehow, the Lord was helping me, and I got to the other side of that water. When I got to the other side, I slid up the bank, and the water got a hold of me, started pulling me in. And I grabbed into bushes, and they happened to be those blackberries, and they just tore my hand open. My left hand was bleeding, but that was the worst. I got out, and then I took off. Well, it's interesting. I went to the railroad station and acted like I was going what they call Urlaub. And Urlaub means vacation. And so when the guy said to me, "Sie gehen mit Urlaub?" "You're going with vacation?" Said, "Yeah, ich gehe nach Hause." And so he sold me the tickets and didn't do anything. The interesting part is when I went to the place where we had to go into the plane, the train came in. And we had airplanes coming down and shooting at the train day and night. It was just awful. We had bombings every night. And so it was really something. And when I stepped into the wagon, I ended up right in the middle of a full wagon full of German soldiers. And they had come from the front and they were giving them as much schnapps, they call it, drink as they wanted. And they were all mostly, partially or all the way drunk. And they were having a good time. They were going to do a lot of vacation home, and so they were excited. And but the interesting part is by stepping in the wrong wagon from the one station to the other one, I never got checked. Because who is going to check a guy that sits between the soldiers? You should be all right. I didn't plan this. Somehow it seems like somebody was helping me all the time. And so I ended up having no inspection. And the next section, I didn't go to the Dutch border. I stopped to a big station in Germany, bought another ticket to the border from Holland. And when I got very close to the border of Holland, all of a sudden, a guy walked into the wagon that I was sitting, and it was the same guy that had brought me 2 weeks before to Germany. He was pro-German. He worked for the Dutch army. And when he saw me, he turned around and ran forward to another wagon. I'm sure it was to get soldiers. And before the train stopped, I had jumped out, and I ran as fast as I could and ended up in the woods. I had hidden a compass in my clothes, and so I walked by compass. I didn't use roads or paths. I just went with my compass, and I knew about where I had to go that way. Northwest was the way I had to go. It was very interesting. It was dark, and a lot of things happened, and I can't tell you all. There's not enough time. But I ended up, when you just walk with a compass, and you go under bushes and to the side, and that's the way you go. And I got to an open spot in the middle of all those woods, and all of a sudden I ran into 2 wild pigs, and he and the sheep. And he was pretty mad. He didn't like it that I came into his area. And he probably had Saturday night or something, was going to the dance, I don't know. But anyway, he didn't like me there at all. And he started clawing in the sand. And he was throwing it way over. And I had nothing but a little suitcase. And I had a knife. And I couldn't see how I could handle a big boar like that. He probably weighed at least 150 pounds or more, and if he would come at me with some speed, I wouldn't have a chance. He had big tusks. I would break my legs. Anyway, I was lucky. The female took off, and the boar looked at me, and he looked where the female went, and he went after the female, so I got out of that. Well, I'll stop there and I'll tell you some other stories. Want me to stress something? Go ahead, say it.
No, in the potato field.
Sometimes in life, we set limits. I happened to be in priesthood meeting this Sunday, and the man who I like very much, he was setting limits. to himself. He was telling me how unqualified he was. You know, remember what I was happy about? I'm alive, freedom of choice, laws of cause and effect. And I realize and hope you do. We are sons of God and daughters. We're sons and daughters of God, and we better remember that. And we can act like it, and we cannot act like it. It's up to us. We can live a life as we should. All we have to do is act like we're God, and everything will be fine. So it's exciting. You know what's exciting to me? In Genesis 26, the Lord says, let us make man in our image, in our likeness. Well, that's exciting to Grandpa. I'm created in the Lord's image and likeness. That's exciting. At one time, the people asked Jesus, and they said, what does God look like? And he said, if you have seen me, you've seen man. Exciting. I look like God. I just hope I act like it. That's the big challenge we have. Well, I was talking about limits. We do set limits. I have no limits. I can do anything I want. I'm a son of God. I just don't see any limits. The only limits I have and the only limits you have are the ones you set. Don't put negative thoughts in your mind, and don't think that the Lord can't do it, or you can do it, and the Lord is on your side, and you can do that too. So, anyway, one time we had a little boy something like Kelsey, younger really. It was winter time.
Should I look in the camera? Should I look more in the camera?
It doesn't matter. I
He's
don't
fine.
have to look at it.
He's fine.
Why don't you finish the story from Germany?
Oh, I can't. There's too much.
Hey, I do want to see.
Talk about the story of Germany.
Yeah, that's what we like.
I'll go back then. Let me go on with this first. It was winter time and we were visiting with our sister, with her husbands, and my parents were there. And we were sitting in a room like this, and in the middle of the room was a table, and surrounding the table were chairs. And where Anita's sitting, that's where there was a stove. That would be the only room in the whole house that would be warm. There were no more rooms warm. Every room that you would, if you go potty in the night in your bedroom, you could just throw it out. I mean, it would be a block high. It would freeze in every room. And that room that the stove would burn in, that stove would go out at about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and that would freeze too. Because people just didn't have a lot of money and they had to be very, very careful in spending it. So when we were sitting around the table and I was at the farthest end, our boy Pete and my sister's little girl were kind of playing around the table tag. And really I didn't think about it, but somehow the little girl fell against Pete, and Pete fell with his face on top of the stove. And the steam was coming up, and then the smoke. And everybody became hysterical, and Grandpa had to jump over all those legs to get to the girl and pick her up, and then pick that Pete. And when I looked at Pete's face, all the skin that was on this part of his face was on the stove, and this, of course, where there was the most pressure. We had charcoal meat, the meat had burned. So when they were very nervous and crying, I picked Pete up and decided I was going to the doctor with him. When I picked him up, he was screaming so hard you could believe him. Hear him 2 blocks down the road. And I said to the Lord, if you love this boy as much as I do, please take the pain away. When I said Eamon, he didn't cry anymore. And when I set him in front of my bike, I had to drive a half hour to go to the doctor. I just looked at that scarred face and I went through hell. Just bothered me to no end. I wish it was my face, but it wasn't. Got to the doctor and he says, what the heck is the matter with you? I kind of must have looked like a dirty diaper. I was personally involved and it bothered me, and so I said, well, look at this, doc, and I turned Pete around with his broadside to the doctor, and he said, oh no, he says, well, there's one good thing about it. He's a boy. He won't die. He will be scarred for the rest of his life. And I couldn't accept that. I thought if the Lord can take pain away, he can do anything if he wants to. So, again, I asked if Pete would be all right. And he goes through. And he went in the back room. The doctors had their office on the house. And he mixed up some sap and gave it to me. He says, put it on and we'll see you tomorrow. Those days, we're talking a long time ago, there was no plastic surgery. And you saw the picture, and you have it laying on the table. There's no scar. There's no scar on Pete's face. So, anyway, limits? Why would you set limits? Don't set limits. The Lord will say no. He says many times no. He has said to me many times no. I don't care. I'm after the yeses. And I've gotten a lot of them. So a good year later or so, it was around Christmas time, and we had moved. And our second son, Nick, we were looking at the store windows because it was Christmas time and they were making very pretty. And it was just fun to go by the windows and see what they had done with them. And we were there, and it was one brand new store, something like the Albertson store, a big store with big oak doors in it. And we didn't have doors that would go open and close when you came. But they had beautiful oak doors with brass handles and inches, everything else is very pretty. While we were looking there, a lady came out the store. When the door closed, somehow, and I can't figure how, Nick put his finger into the side where the hinges are. And when the door closed, you can imagine what that finger looked like. It was smashed, it was bloody, terrible. I've been in the war and I've seen it all, so that didn't bother me. This was my son. That bothered me. He was a better screamer than Pete, I think. He screamed so hard it was awful, and I told Tony, you better go home with Pete, and I'll go and walk to the doctor. And I looked at the sky. I thought about the same prayer. And I gave the same prayer, only it was in behalf of Nick. When I said amen, he stopped crying. So when I got to the doctor, and again they have the office on the house, it was about 8 o'clock at night. And He said, can you help me? You're not going to faint on me? I said, no, Doc, I'm not going to faint on you ever. I can help you. And so he let me hold Nico and put him on the corner of the table. And I had my arm around Nick very tight. And I had a little pen. It was enamel, white, and a blue edge on it. And he wanted me to hold that end of there. So he took a scissor and he chopped the pieces off. Right at this moment, I can hear it fall in that little pen. Well, I went home and he bandaged the finger, and we had to go back, of course, but I walked into the front hall, and this was after the war. And my parents and Honey and I, with our family, had to live in one home. There was no problem. It was a very big home. We did not have to be in each other's way. Luckily, Mom and Honey got along real well, so in fact, I think Mom adopted Honey as a girl, her girl. So that worked out real well. But when I opened the door, Mom was crying, Honey was red-eyed, and Dad stood there very tight-looking. And my mother says, when Nick put his finger up, he never cried anymore. Not even when the doctor cut it off and band-aided it up, nothing. And she said, one good thing, he doesn't have to go in the service. He can't pull the trigger anymore. He can't kill anybody. That's a grandma for you. But I couldn't accept it. And I don't know if the Lord was going to say yes or no. You could have decided to accept it. He's all right with a short finger. But I think he was better with a long finger, with his real finger. And I asked the Lord, well, he got his whole finger. So, tell you a little other story about another finger. Want to see it? See something? Shorter, isn't it? See that? Well, a shop foreman started the machine up and I was checking the sprockets and the chains out. I got caught into it and the machine was running and just put my hand into it. And the only way to make it, I had to throw my full weight against my body, weight against the finger, and it just tore the meat and the flesh off, but the bone was sticking out. Well, when you have such good answers to prayer sometimes, you think you're always going to get a yes. I know I don't, but I still look for it. And so, you know what I did is said, Lord, I got to have my whole finger back. I got to have my whole finger back. I got to play the organ. I want to play the piano. I want to play the accordion. And to really make it impressive to the Lord, I told him on the accordion, the 120 bass buttons on this side. I had a story so good I thought the Lord had to do it, but he didn't. And after a year he came to me and he let me know to quit it. I was playing my accordion and the organ. It didn't make any difference. But I was still asking. I hate to have a short finger. I love perfection. I love everything. I don't like it. But I clicked with it. Okay. So many times the Lord say yes, and many times he says no. It is for our own good. Yes.
Will you tell us a story about, I don't remember exactly, but when you were in the house with your grandpa, and they were bombing the house?
Oh.
You moved from
Let me finish the story from Germany first.
Okay, finish the
I
story.
mean, that's so long.
Well, we liked it. Tell us the story.
Okay. you
Anyway, then I had escaped. And when I grew up on the side of the Rhine River. And I've been a very good swimmer. I always told my kids, the day you cannot swim, Daddy, you don't need to wear
See that?
a safety belt. And I knew they had to be awfully good swimmers before they could. Anyway, this girl is to the point where she could beat Grandpa, but I've gone downhill and she's going uphill. But anyway, I had decided to go to Emery and then go to the middle of the Rhine River and swim for a while and then get out and find my way home. But when they were after me, the soldiers, in the night, in fact, when I had left there, those
Fix.
wild boars, I walked out the woods and I walked out right behind a German soldier standing with his gun on guard. Which meant I was getting close to the borderline. And, but he didn't hear me. All I had was a knife. I would have killed him if I could have, because it was his or my life, but it didn't come to that. But I had no fear. I never had fear of that. So don't start a fight with me. There's no fear whatever. And then all of a sudden, dogs got the air of me. And they started barking and the soldiers started hollering. I had to dive into a big potato field, and it wasn't a potato field like the backyard here, but this potato field was acres and acres big. And when I started crawling on my stomach through those potatoes, I blew up so much pollen and whatever, the doctors couldn't even smell me anymore. They just lost my smell. Now, nobody told me to do this. I did that automatic. Well, truth is eternal. It comes from somewhere. So the big thing is, put yourself in a position where you learn to love the truth. Even if you don't understand it, you want it in your life, and it's going to be a tremendous power. It will just put you. I had two partners, and one was a graduate of college. He was a straight A student. The other partner wasn't that good. But I became the president of a boat company. See, the Lord does all kinds of things for you if you give him a chance. But you have to trust, and you have to give him the opportunity. And I felt that promises were made. When I were to receive the Holy Ghost, I would know the truth, and the truth would make me free. And so I always looked for that. And the truth became more important than honey, than myself. And I would say to honey sometimes, if you don't want to go to heaven, I want to go to heaven. I don't want to go to hell. I want to go to heaven. Now that's terrible to say that to your wife. But if I would make heaven as he was with me, it would be for eternity. The other way wouldn't be any good to me. It's a waste of time. I'm not satisfied with mortality alone. I was, I am, and I will be. And that means eternal. Remember that. And if you're not pleased with yourself, there's nobody you can blame. You can't even blame the Lord. It's your own fault. Put in the effort and ask the Lord for strength if you need it. Anyway, when I got
was no
to the end of that potato field. I came between a railroad, and the railroad was high on a dam, it seemed like. It ran high. There was a big highway which ran from in Germany into Holland. And I was between, and I just didn't know how I could get over because the soldiers were talking between the street and the railroad, and they had guards all over the place. I mean, all the soldiers were there. There were so many. And I had a tank ditch. What that meant is it was all barbed wire, and they were made that a tank couldn't go through it. It would get stuck, and it was full of water. And I didn't care because I could swim. So I decided I would swim to the other side. However, when I found the hole big enough for me to go through, as soon as I put my foot into one of it, with all barbed wire, a bunch of ducks lined up. And those dang soldiers, they didn't know what it was. Finally, and they were shining with lights, and the light bundle would go over me. And they would keep shining and talking to each other, and finally they decided it was just a bunch of ducks that decided to go somewhere else. So then I went through the water and walked for miles after that. And I fainted.
You were standing between the cows.
Yeah, and they were shining the lights. I was between the
It was
cows.
just like with a cow.
And I fainted, and then around 5 o'clock in the morning I woke up because I heard buckets, and the farmers were coming in the field to milk the cows. And that noise made me wake up, and I saw this little city in the distance. And I was so excited because I knew I had walked enough distance, I should be in home. So when I hit that little town, I was still in Germany. Now what I had done, I had walked out of Germany into Holland, into Germany, and that's where I was Sunday morning. And that is because the borderline was like that. And I was walking straight. I didn't have a map. Well, anyway, I walked up to the city and I ran into a lady. She was in black. And by that time, I must have been around 5:30, 42. And she could see the way I was, and I had been laying in the field. And I had gone through that ditch, and I had done all kinds of things. I must have looked like a hippie. But anyway, I'm sure that her mother's heart was talking. Not Germany, not Hitler, because she should have reported me. All she had to do is yell, and I would have been in trouble. She didn't. And then I asked her. I looked at her and I saw a mother there, an older one. And I asked her what was the shortest way into Germany. And out of herself, she told me a way to go that would miss the German soldiers. The only thing that she didn't tell me is that I had to go through another tank ditch. By that time, when I finally got to that tank ditch, I was so weak, I could swim. I could not go into the water and swim to the other side. So you don't give up, what do you do? I walked on the side of the ditch, and finally I ended up by that highway that runs parallel with the railroad that came from Germany into Holland. And from here to the corner of the street here, there were German soldiers. They saw me. They had to see me. And maybe they didn't. I couldn't say, because they didn't stop me. And I walked that Sunday morning into Holland. about 7 o'clock or so, I wasn't home. I had to walk a long ways to railroad, went back home. On Monday morning I'd take off and I was on the count and they couldn't find me anymore. I was all over. So anyway, there was a little bit more to it, but this is enough. I'd like to tell you about another thing. What?
We want to hear the whole story.
You
Well,
can't
tell
have it all.
about the war when we bombed and you was with Grandpa. You need to have that.
Anyway, in September of 1944, we had an airdrop from the Allies, and they came down over the city where I was born and where I was at that time. And I know how excited I was. I happened to be home, and I was free. All of a sudden, I could go around the street. The neighbors couldn't figure out where I came from, and I didn't tell them, but anyway, I was free. That night, I prepared the bake during the night, burn the oven with wood. There was no oil. James had taken all the oil. I had to burn wood and heat the oven. I could bake 120 pounds of flour at one time. My parents were not there. They had left to meet my sister, and they couldn't come back. So for 10 days, it took 10 days. They were separated, and then we couldn't go where they were right away. But anyway, the second night, so I baked, and I did all the burning during the night so that nobody could see the smoke. I baked early in the morning, and then so many people had no money, no coupons. You had to have coupons to get bread. The Germans had done that system. You got about a pound of bread a week. So everybody was starving. And I just let them have it. I was so excited. I was free. All of a sudden, well, that night, Grandpa says to me, well, we better go upstairs, John. Go to bed. And I was not going to bed. And he said, Grandpa, I'm so nervous. And Grandpa was in his 70s and I was 18. And I said, let's get the mattresses and put them downstairs in Mom's living room. And so we did. That night the grenade hit upstairs, and if we had been there, I wouldn't be sitting here. Well, we had another day. We had many experiences. It got worse and worse. The Allies were losing out. The first couple of days we had thousands of dead people and so many wounded, there is no number for it. And so that night, Grandpa says to me, we better stay in Mom's living room, don't we, John? I said, no, Grandpa. I'm so nervous. I'm not going to sleep in Mom's room. I'm going to sleep in the back porch. That night, the grenade went into the living room. Took care of that. Now you have to remember, I wasn't a Mormon. You don't have to be awfully religious. There are things that happen and the Lord looks out for anybody, and He did for me. And so He just made me nervous. He didn't tell me why, and I couldn't sleep there and I would take off. So then, under the back porch we slept, and our house wasn't worth much anymore. It got hit too much. And that night, Grandpa says, well, there's not much left. We better stay here. I said, no, Grandpa, I can't take it. I gotta go somewhere else, and so we went to a friend. And we did business together. They had a big dairy, and we bought her eggs and milk and anything we needed for the bakery there. I played with their son. He was a couple of years younger than I, but we had a good time, and I went up there and I asked if I could stay there that night. They had given him a lot of bread the first day that I had bread, and he had stacked it up in the corner. He had a big basement, and there were 26 people in there, and in the corner of the basement they had a 55-gallon barrel with water, and then they had some buckets for waste, and they were sitting in the basement, 26 of them. And then Grandpa and I showed up, and I asked if I could stay, and they said yes. So we stayed there that night, and nothing happened. And so I said to him, the man whose house it was, I said, you know, will you take care of Grandpa and watch him, and I'll go through the woods and I'll swim the Rhine River and I'll go to the Allies. They were coming up from the south. I said, I'll go, but when I told Grandpa, he cried. He cried so hard, can't believe it. It hurt me. Well, it was my life, but he didn't realize that. And I wanted to go to the Allies. I would have been much better off, probably, but I couldn't leave him, so I stayed with him. So I told my neighbor, I said, he says, you're going to stay with us? Or I just said, no, I can't do it. I have to go. I'm too nervous. I was nervous again. I didn't know why. Listen sometimes to your feelings. And I went into the woods. You know what happened? The German soldiers were coming closer and closer, and they would sneak patrols in. And that night they sneaked in, and they came at that house with a basement full of people. They opened the door and they looked in there, and what was standard, they would take a grenade and throw it in there. And one explosion would kill the whole bunch. But he didn't. They didn't. They set the house on fire on top of it. So, one lucky thing about it, only one of the girls, a sister of my friend, she lost her mind. It got so hot in there, they couldn't stand it. But anyway, nobody died, but Annie, her name was Anna, and he lost her mind, and it took about 2.5 years before she got it back. But she did get it back, luckily. But the tension was too high. She just couldn't take it. Well, anyway, I ended up in the woods. And we stayed there, and I know every tree in that hole, and all those woods where I was born. I was in it all the time. And I stayed in a big hole, and we called it hell. H-E-double-L, we called it hell. It was full of trees and pine trees, and we stayed there. I thought it was a good place. But I never heard so many grenades come in the night as that night. I mean, it didn't stop. One explosion after the other, and those trees, they ended up at our tops. They all got shot off, and the grenades came down. There are many stories I can tell you, but we got too many years here that we don't put on. But their mortality is terrible during those days. And so we went over to a tobacco drying shed. What it is like a chicken coop, and it has slats all around it. And they dried the tobacco in it. And we were in there with about 26 people, 28, something like that. And while we were there, like I said, the circle got smaller and smaller, and the grenades became more often in all the time. And one of the grenades hit the shed and had all those people in it. And we had lots of wounded, and that's when I helped with the Red Cross. And a neighbor of ours, a sliver went in on this side of this lake, and it pushed all the bones out on this side. It was all pulverized, and it was just sticking out. And it is amazing to me how people, because of shock, could take pain and all kinds of things. He took his belt off. He was bleeding to death because his arteries were cut. And he bound his own leg off and stopped the bleeding. I knew him real well. He was a customer aboard. And then, you know, it was Sunday morning then, and I went outside, and there was an officer from London. I couldn't speak English, but he had an officer from Poland with him who could speak English, and of course the Englishman could speak German, and so we could communicate in German. And they were, can you imagine, the bullets were flying, people were starving from hunger, and here this officer, he was brushing his teeth on Sunday morning. And the Pole, he was washing himself, and he was not doing that. But the guy from London, he was even shaving. I mean, he really, and the bullets and the grenades were just exploding all around. And so I thought crazy, and I walked in, and all of a sudden I hear that tremendous explosion right behind me, and I went outside. There was no Englishman. There were no Pole. There were only spatters on the walls. That grenade had hit so concentrated, there was nothing left. And so I decided that we had to go. We couldn't stay. And so I told everybody the fire was concentrating more at us. We had to get out. And there was two ladies that happened to be the mother and the sister of one of my best friends. And they were kneeling down, and I got madder than a hornet. I couldn't see how people wanted to kneel down when the grenades were coming closer every second. I wanted them to get out, do the praying later, get out of here, you know. But they wouldn't do it. So here we start finally piling out of that place and running. They had to cross a big open field. And I had an 80-something-year lady with me, and she ran the same speed as I did. And I ran with a speed of plus 10 miles an hour, average. That 80-year-old lady, she was a little older than that, kept up with me. And I got hit. A grenade exploded not too far from us while we were running. And I had a big piece standing in my leg here. And I was wearing leather boots with better leather caps here. And that piece of steel was just sticking in there. And so I grabbed it. It was so hot I burned my fingers. And it had burned into my leg. What happened? It made a wound and burned it closed. And I had a blister in my hand. But it was just the right thing to happen to me. There were no doctors. Besides, I was with the underground. Where do I go? And so we ran and finally ended up by a little farm. By that time, it was Sunday night. And we were in the ground, and there were about, at that time there were about 16 of us, and included this old lady. And we went in this hole and we had doors over the top with sand on it. And we spent the night there. And I always say I got claustrophobia. I just couldn't take it anymore. It was driving me crazy. The cows hadn't been milked for a week or 10 days, but then, you know, it was a good week. It was the 8th day. And they were running crazy through the streets of the town. Quarters of milk, infected. Cats and dogs didn't get any food. And it was just terrible. Half of our city was on fire. And the hair on my arms was standing straight up. Satan was so strong, it affected me that my hair was standing up and I had the chills going down my back. And I was in that hole, and so I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I had to get out. So I did. And so by that time it was Monday morning and the sky was breaking. The sun wasn't up. But you could see there was a new day coming, like you see this there. And of course this is good night, but there was a new day coming. You could see that out in the sky. And when I walked around this little farm, I ran in to a German patrol. 1 officer and 3 soldiers. And of course, all they did was asking for my ausweis, and that was a paper. If you had that, you could be in Holland. If you didn't have it, you couldn't be. Also, they could shoot you right at the spot. And so, but I had lived with that challenge, and it bothered me. Bothered my mother. My mother turned gray, from black to gray in less than about a year's time. She really, and she got down from 185 pounds to about 100 pounds or close to that. And so he says in German, he asked for my ausweis. I told him I didn't have one. So he wasn't going to waste any time. He set me against the back of that little farm, and he was going to shoot. And so those 3 soldiers he had with him, they lifted a gun, and he started counting. This is the craziest thing. Why didn't he shoot me? He started counting. He was going to do it really neat. So he called 1, 2, and this is the interesting part. Not only I'm sitting here, that means I got out of it. But one thing that you guys don't realize, everything is in your mind. And what the Lord did to me, He gave me a full show of my life, which was a little over 18 years long. He didn't miss anything. He Grandpa saw the good things, and he saw the not so good things. And he saw all that. And he saw himself sitting in a rocking horse when it started. I was 6 months old. And I even remember things that the 6-year-old was remembering. I got to quit, I can't keep going, but my fourth year birthday, I think I'll tell that. I was in the backyard with my mother, and I was standing what we call a red star apple tree. Even the meat of the apple was kind of reddish. It was really a tasty apple. And we were about the only one from all my friends or anybody that had that apple in the backyard. And so she was looking at me, and it was my birthday, and I could still see her eyes full of love on me. She had real dark brown eyes, just about like that female over there. And she looked at me the only a mother can look at her child. But it's real to me I remember that. I can still see it. And all of a sudden, there was Grandpa, my dad. And he came and he had a big paper bag under his arm. And he walked over, and instead of coming to me, he went to my mother and gave her a kiss. And I was a little upset because it was my birthday, not his. Now remember this, you got little kids. There's all kinds of feelings in those little kids, more than you realize. I was even capable of being jealous. And so, he took that wheelbarrow, he got a little wooden wheelbarrow in there, and it was yellow on the outside, red on the inside. I was wearing an apron. It had 3 buttons in the back, it had 2 pockets, it had two pockets with blue band around it, and duckies on it, and blue duckies. I know all that detail. I won't tell you everything, but I thought about my mother. I remember only covering 2 seconds. Well, no rush. I saw my whole life, even if it was only plus 18 years. And so I thought by myself, Mother's very emotional. It's going to hurt her a lot when they tell her I was shot. I was dead. And I thought about my dad, and I thought, he's a very strong person, not only physically, but mentally. He's all right. He'll handle it. I'm the only son, but he handled it. And I thought about Honey. I thought, I wonder how long it will take her to find someone else. I took her, it would be normal and natural to find another man and get married or another boyfriend. All those things. 2 seconds. And I knew what was true, I knew what was right, I knew what wasn't. I didn't need the Lord to tell me, I knew exactly. And I all of a sudden realized I was judging myself. I was judging my life by my actions. I couldn't walk away from it. And so, after the war, I changed. And I got out of it, and I better tell you because everybody wants to know out of me. My grandfather, when he was a teenager, had worked in Germany. And of course, he spoke German. And when I had left him in that hole, he started worrying about me, so he came behind me. I was named after him. So I was a special baby boy anyway. So he came after me, and when he came around the corner, saw they were going to shoot me. He started screaming and crying. And I think the older officer had more feeling than the other guys. They were just obeying orders, and he stopped shooting. And so it was because of my grandfather that I got out of that predicament. However, what they did, they took me and put me in a patrol, and they sent me to Berlin. I had to go to Berlin. However, within an hour, I escaped out of that one. I won't tell you all those things. There are so many. But the Lord minds us and loves us. He doesn't want to do it for us. I appreciate our kids when they found out that I had cancer and I had 6 months to live. They gave me a picture of Jesus Christ, and it looks very much like this one here I have here. This picture looks very much like this. And It says on one side of that picture, I never said it would be easy, so remember that. Your life is not meant to be easy. But on the outside of the picture it says, but it will be worth it. I'll testify of that, with all the pain and the challenge I have. I'm capable of handling it because of his help. If he didn't, I wouldn't even try. I'd rather be over on the other side with my friends and family. But this girl is very important to me. Plus, I would like to do a little more missionary work. Anyway, if you ask me why I became a member of the church, a lot of it is because of the experience I have. I've seen so many people die. I have seen so many people become hateful because of the war. I never have said this much, but I had the opportunity to step out of my body and see myself, I see my friends. This was during the war also. And somehow I'm spoiled. I've had a lot of experiences. I know that the God lives, that it's real. I have no problem with it. I know that he says no to me many times. I don't care. I'll keep pestering him anyway until he tells me to get lost. That's just the way of putting it. Anyway, one more little story. So there are many reasons I became a member. One of them was because of my experiences. One of them was the great need I had within myself that I could handle life. And I didn't know at the time that the scripture was true. The truth shall make you free. And I needed the truth in my life. And to have a fullness of it, you need the Holy Ghost. Use it. You got it. When I ask you if you use the gift of the Holy Ghost today, I should be beefed off to no end if you didn't use it today. There's nobody in this room that can live his life that well that they don't need it. That includes my sons and daughter-in-law and my wife and myself. There was a mother's prayer given a long time ago. Her boy got sick. He was very weak. And finally, he became so sick he went into a coma. The doctor and the specialist, he could not be transferred anymore. He was too weak. Came over and told the mother that time has gone. He would not live. But in 2 hours they would be back and they could organize the funeral and all that. But this mother didn't give up. She was very religious. Her son, he didn't care. Her husband, he didn't care. But she was very religious. And so she called her dad. He was an elder in the Protestant church. And her mom, and she called her husband. She made them all kneel down and told her dad, now you asked the Lord to spare his life, but he wouldn't do it. He was afraid. So she decided And now you can see what mothers can do for you. She decided she would if nobody else would. And she prayed and asked the Lord to save this little boy's life and to use him. Do with him what you want. Don't let him die. And when the doctors came back, all of a sudden he had woke up out of his coma. And he was alive. Well, it was very interesting. The boy never knew it. And when he'd go up, his mother would call him and say, and he would go to his mother and she would say to him, want to be a minister. Now you have to realize that in this mother's life, many of her family were ministers. And she just thought after the promises and the pleading she did that her boy was going to be a minister. The boy never knew it. And he kept telling his mother, no, Mom, not me. Not me, no minister for me. And so the day came that we were in America and we couldn't speak English. We could say yes and no, a count of 20. Good morning, good evening, very few words. And my bishop went over to a friend that lived in the same ward, and he was a Dutchman, and he said, get John to get a patriarchal blessing and help him. Well, first thing is, I didn't even know what a state patriarch was. But if the bishop told me I had to do something to me, there was nothing I would do. So, when the day came that we were going to meet the patriarch, I can't remember the time, it was 7 or 7:30, honey, I can't remember, it's not that important. And we had fasted, both of us, that day. And I walked into the room, he had the chair standing there, and he took me by the arm and he said, priesthood first. And I wouldn't do it. I kept telling him, women first. And he kept telling me, priesthood first, and he kept pulling on my arm, but he was in his 70s, and I was a young guy. He could have thrown him out the window, he could have moved me. Finally he gave up and decided that man is so stubborn, I'm going to leave him be and take care of his eye first. And so he gave honey a blessing. And as soon as he started, I had no problem with the language. The Holy Ghost was translating it for me. And because of that, I had a fullness of meaning much more than we can come up with in English. The depth of the fullness and the meaning through the Holy Ghost, it just, and I cried. That's what I mean, it's streamed down my face. And finally he stopped. And then he took me by the arm and had no problem putting me on the seat. And I sat down and he started again. And he was old and tired. So he stopped. And I had a question. First thing I was thinking of, and I left Holland the night before, my dad said to me, I hate you, John. I'm the only son. And I do understand why he said that. I was hurting them all. The only son, I was hurting mom, family, I was leaving everybody, I was terrible. I couldn't understand that. But it bothered me. And I always hoped they would accept the call someday. And so, just remember this, I'm sitting on this chair, and he stops talking. So what do? I pray in Dutch. He can't hear me. And that prayer goes where? All the way up to Kolob. They got a big computer center over there, you know that? Behind the sun. Long ways off. This question went up there and went into the computer. And I had to meet eternity laws. They had to be eternal truth. It's simple, but it is. It had to last. It had to be true. So then it had to go from that computer, it had to go down to the state patriarch. Can you imagine all that distance? How fast things can go? We have no idea. Then the state patriarch answered me in English. I sent it in Dutch. He answered in English. He never heard me. And he gave me the answer in the Holy Ghost translated. I asked, so he went down, did my blessing, and he stopped. And I asked about my pre-existence, and he answered me. Then he stopped again. And I asked him if we could have more children, another child. We want one more girl. And he said we would have more children. That baby boy over there is the number, you know, the extra one that we didn't even ask for. We got it. And it is amazing. Every time I prayed in Dutch, and it sounds like a joke, but it had to go somewhere. And the answer had to come from somewhere. And I went to the state patriarch and had the answer. And so, he told me, when I asked what about my parents, he says, your parents' attitude will change. They will accept the gospel. And I taught them, baptized. I baptized 102. He told me all those things. It's amazing. Truth is eternal, never changes. Love is eternal. Our love is found to be eternal. Nothing else is good enough. As friends, make it eternal. Don't settle for just mortality. I can't do it. I'm past that. So, many answers I have received. I have gotten some no's here and there. But it's worth it. When I fought the cancer, it's still worth it. As long as I can do something that's worthwhile, I like to stick around. Besides, I like this girl. If I could take her with me, I think I will go. You got any questions? Any?
How many times do you fight on the fire squad?
I stood only once in front of the firing squad, but I escaped many times. But they're all stories. We could go on for hours.
Why don't you tell us how you met your wife?
Well, that was very interesting. During the war, the farmers were requested to furnish grain and animals and meat and anything to the Germans. Some cases it was misunderstood, and it got to a point through misunderstanding and other things that they were burning farms down. And this girl lived on this farm that we had to stand guard during the night. They would burn the farms down during the night. So I met her and I was assigned to guard their farm. The interesting part is I didn't tell you this. She had a boyfriend. He was not bad looking. He probably could kiss better than me, who knows? But
I don't know anymore.
anyway, I told her that one night, Sunday night, I said, "Why don't you tell him not to come back?"
And she did.
She did. She told him not to come back. So what she didn't know, and I didn't know, is that she had promised to marry me in the pre-existence, which was in the patriarchal blessing. So everything fell in place, just like that.
He met me the 16th of May, and then he went to Germany, I think in July.
Yeah,
And he was,
pretty bad in love. He really had it bad.
that's why he escaped from Germany.
One of the biggest motivating factors for me to leave Germany and that camp was this girl. Nothing it's not even common sense, but it's true. So, well, we had a good life together. We grew up together. We both learned a lot. And the Lord has really blessed us. We got 5 kids, 24 grandkids. As of not too long ago, Honey said to me, "You know something? Everybody is in church today. Everybody. Not one missing. Not a son or a daughter-in-law or a son of nobody. They were all in church. None of the grandkids, they were all in church. So I think we're really, really blessed, and it's scary. I think a lot about Lehi. Look at him. 2 of his kids were doing real good, but the rest of them. And I like to bear testimony to the fact, hold on to the iron rod, and when it gets foggy and misty and you can't see anything and you don't to figure it out, just hold on, because you will make it. Hold on to the iron rod. Even if you don't understand, it's true. Sometimes I sit and I think, now what's going on? What does the Lord want of me? What does He want? Well, I tell you, as easy as it is for me to ask Him to talk to Him, He sure can talk to me too, just as easy, so I'm not worried about it. He wants me to know, He will let me know. I'll just keep going the best I can. Well, I think that's enough for tonight. There's a lot more. I wouldn't mind if you could make a copy of it, because I don't have it.
is it something else what he should tell?
But if you have questions, go ahead, shoot.
I just want to hear all of it, the whole story.
Tomorrow.
I don't care if it
Be
takes
too much.
2.
You have to be able to stop and put it on an album, and then, you know, if you put kids or family and make them watch for hours, too long.
Yeah, but you could watch a section and then watch a little bit more and a little bit more. You don't
Yeah.
have to watch it all.
For you, it's very interesting, and for the younger people, it's
They don't have to watch
sometimes
it all.
becomes kind of dragging.
You-
I
you know,
everything I've done, I had the opportunity to have my own airplane, and I've been flying in some pretty bad weather. But I tell you, I can pray, doesn't matter where I am. Even if I would sit at the bathroom and listen on the walls, home is love. Is what you got there. But I do pray a lot. I talk to the Lord. I don't worry if I have an old pants on or a new pants on. And if I see something nice, I'll tell him. I really like it. I think he did a fantastic job when he created the earth and heavens. When he gave me a partner like this one. And for you be the same. It is fantastic to me. I mean, you see a little baby, what a miracle. I mean, I could sit and really get in awe just thinking about it. So, there's much I could talk about. You got a crazy grandpa, you got a crazy father-in-law. Satisfied, John? You want to go to bed?
This here's.
Oh, it's 10 o'clock. That's a nice time. Treated the Jews. They went out
Don't
there
put me on it.
and they were picking out Jewish families. And so the Jewish family usually, they were very rich and they lived above big stores. And so they would go up there, and if you happened to be pregnant, they would just throw you off the stairs. And then there was a dump truck downstairs, and they would just throw you in there and take you off. That's what they did to the women. And one of the Dutch boys, I was there too, but he said something. And they took the end of the gun and hit him so hard in the chest that I heard his bones break. And I can go, now these are not pleasant things, but those things happen also. I saw wonderful things, people helping each other. In fact, I should make some notes of it because they would go way out of the way to help, where on the other hand, Satan was having a heyday. And I've had that several times that my hair would go up on my arm. I lost it all, but it's coming back. My cancer took a lot of it. Some of it is coming back. One thing I can say, when I found out that I had cancer, my doctor said to me, John, I want you to go to my office and read in Isaiah 38 about Hezekiah, and I did. And it said, the Lord said to Isaiah, which was a prophet in those days, Isaiah, I want you to go to Hezekiah and tell him that his time is up, that he has to put a house in order. And so Isaiah went up and told Hezekiah, and Hezekiah really felt bad, and he cried. And after that, he pleaded with the Lord. He just pleaded to no end. And he asked the Lord, he said, I've done so much. I've tried so hard. Please let me have more time. And so the Lord went to Isaiah again. He said, Isaiah, I want you to go to Hezekiah and tell him that I will extend his life by 15 years. Now, in that story, the Lord says your time is up. And then, because of Hezekiah using faith, the Lord changed his decision. And when I read that, I felt the same way. At that time, honey was in the hospital. We had found I was going to live 6 months above. And by having an operation, 2 hips within 10 days,
A week?
a week, we would be together more. We tried to evaluate our time so we'd be mostly together as much as possible. And so I was home alone, and I walked through the hall from the bedroom to the fireplace and back, and I cried and I played it, and I asked the Lord if I could have extra time. And so I called the bishop, and I said, Bishop, I need a blessing. And he said, what's the matter? I said, Bishop, I was just told today I'm going to have 6 months to live. And I really hope it doesn't have to be that way. And so he says, I'll be over, John, and he brought his counselor, and he says, how you want it, then I had the counselor anoint, and then I had the bishop seal the blessing, and he said to me, he said, John, I'll feel prompt to tell you that you will have more time. And so when the blessing was over, you know how I am. I need to have all the detail. I mean, so I said, Bishop, how much time? You told me I'm going to have time. But now I'd like to know how much. But he says, I can't tell you that. I just was prompted to tell you that you would have more time. And I was sick in October. Our first counselor came over. He is my doctor also, but he came over to our home. In fact, old Bishop Rick was over 2-3 times a week. And I was so sick. Oh, I was so sick. And this first counselor, he looked at me, he stood by the bed, and he said to me, and I had given up. I was so tired of fighting, so weak physically, so weak, and I do a lot of fighting, what you call mind over matter, and it takes away from you. You don't need to kid yourself. I can have pain in my leg, and I concentrate and take it away with my mind, but it takes energy, and it takes away from me, and it's real hard. And I had kind of given up just about. I don't think I said it, but I was so tired, even
You
trying.
couldn't touch him. His whole skin, everything was pink. You remember? You couldn't touch it.
No. I had so much pain, you know. If you have bone cancer, there is bone all over. So, and then the counselor said to me, he looked at me and he said, John, it isn't your time yet. And the next day, I was over this hump of being negative, and I started fighting again, and I'm sitting here talking in my short pants. The bishop sees it, he gets upset with me. I never worry about that. I'm very, very free, in fact. I'm very serious, very detailed in many things, not in everything. I should be more, but anyway, I'll tell you another story since you're listening anyway. I worked in the temple for 14 years. I love music. I get emotionally involved with music. And when I heard the song, I Walk Today where Jesus walked, I would get so dang emotional. I was thinking about it being out there in Israel, you know, and over by the Sea of Capernaum or whatever. And I was walking to the temple because I was there every week, and so I would walk through the temple, and all of a sudden, it's really not the Lord, it's the Holy Ghost that's telling you. he let me know. He said, John, you walk today where Jesus walked. Because he has been in the Salt Lake Temple. And there's record of it, there's story of it. But I hadn't given it any thought. I thought I had to go all the way back east. I don't have to. I was there where he walked, and I walked there, and it was so exciting when I all of a sudden got that light bulb in my head. It was really exciting. Every week after that, when I was there, I remembered. I felt blessed. Anyway, I have your hair is a little curly, or is it all blonde?
Is it what?
Is it blonde? Or is it the real thing?
It's the real thing.
Anyway, my hair isn't straight, and I always keep telling people my mind isn't straight either. You just kind of have to take me with a little bit of salt, you know. And so, working on the field, I work one session on the men's side and one session on the female side. And so I'm on the female side, and I'm standing to receive. And the ordinance worker reported this lady, but before she did, she turned around to get the name. And she pulled the curtain away. And here I was standing, this old guy with his old hair and wrinkles, was standing in that wooden frame, you know, that they had there. I happened to be there where they put the envelopes through. And so I was just standing like a picture frame, and I thought to myself, wow, what a sight. I was thinking about the people to look at me, you know, what a sight. And then I looked at the lady that was coming through. And I thought by myself, oh no. They didn't have much on noses. They didn't have much on ears. They just didn't have much of anything when they put her together. I never had seen a more homely looking female than I saw at that time. And I was embarrassed, because I know the Lord was there. And I apologized. I said, Lord, forgive me. You know how I am. If I had made the girls, they all would be beautiful because they want to be beautiful. To me, it doesn't matter, but to them it does. I'm sorry, you know better than me. And the curtain goes like, and it's back. I mean, all this, you can't even talk so fast. It goes all so fast. Well, the lady was presented to me, and when I took her by her hand, my whole body was filled with a beautiful feeling, just exciting. I really can't explain it. All I can say is it was beautiful. It was special. And when she talked, when I gave the question, she talked back. I could feel and understand her great love for the gospel and for the endowment. Now what the Lord was doing, He was lifting my veil a little bit so I could see. Then I finally let it come through. She was beautiful. That same girl that I wonder where in the heck they got all the pieces together. She was beautiful. She was so damn beautiful. I came downstairs and we would eat together in the cafeteria, you know, because honey would be downstairs. And I remember saying, I saw the most beautiful lady tonight I've seen for a long time. But what the Lord was doing, He was really showing me what was there. It was not just the body. Sometimes I think you girls should realize that it isn't just beauty. but the inner beauty that counts, and the inner beauty takes over. We both have rings, we're getting old. But the glow of the gospel, they can't take away. And that can be beautiful. So there's all kinds of beauty. One is very mortal, the other one is eternal. Tell the girls if they think they're homely, tell her how beautiful this lady was. I was full of it. I'm married had nothing to do with that. I have no problem with that. But it turned it off.
I'm going to sit next to you for a minute. See how lovable you are. If we can. Here we go. Can you hold me?
Oh, yes. If you start with that, I won't stop. I mean, from one thing comes the next.
Don't worry, Grandpa, we're getting all of this down on record, too.
Just about turn it off now.
Now, wait, when did you two get married then? Did you get married in
46.
Holland?
46.
Were you in Germany? You were in Holland.
Holland. I escaped from Germany, but I was born in Holland. I'm not a German.
You don't want to be a German.
No, I'm glad to be a Dutchman, but I have no problem with it. I have no bad feelings towards the Germans. I don't. To what they did, but not to Germans. I can go to Germany, have a good time. And we've been there many times since.
Our bishop is German.
And I tell you, he just was in Germany and he isn't even home 10 minutes and be on the phone calling me. I'm always teasing him because I can speak a little German and I gave him a bad time. But I love him and he knows it. And when we know we love each other, we can say lots of things, we can do lots of things. We can even help each other to become better. You know how it is, Kim? Truth is more important than you and I. It's eternal. And it makes us free. We should have a testimony of that. Truth makes us free. It doesn't matter where we go. It's very interesting. And I told the German guy that was over me that I was going to escape. For 10 days he kept quiet before he reported. And I was stopped somewhere else and I got stopped by Germans. And they asked me, they said, I need your Ausweis. And I told them I didn't have it. I told them the truth. I told them where I came from, and I came from that war 10 days. So they never asked anymore. And because of telling the truth, they let me go. And really, they should have sent me to Germany, back to the camp, or shoot me. I just told the truth, that's all. And in the beginning, it wasn't even a Mormon. But I thought truth was important. You had to have something to hang on to. And if there is no truth, what do we have? Not much.
He was baptized in 48, and I was baptized in 50.
When we came to the
51.
United States in 51. And which temple were you still in?
So we were living together for a long time before we got married.
That's not true.
It's a good thing he has you here to keep him on the straight and narrow. Well, should we see if this recorded?
Yeah, let's see what.
by the chair.
Too big.
We got one sitting in this what we did. Oh, how did it
Big video. Oh yeah?
I think the boy should sit down and the girl should sit like this. How did we do it? I was sitting like this and Andrew was standing like this.
Okay. Bob, right here.
Okay.
Steve, I don't think it's minute.
I knew you were joking for a second. Maybe you're not joking.
Let's switch chair. Much better.
Thanks,
Pull
John.
your breath. So it, there you go. Now it's hanging really pretty. Okay.
I
1,
know.
2, 3.
Just your mom.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Switch.
Move, Steve. No, you move.
Hold your key.
I can't let go of these. I sound
I'm not
I'm
being
like
fresh, but
4
you're carrying something.
Kayla,
Something.
Kelsey.
Okay.
Wow.
Forward a little bit. Okay, and I'm sorry.
Mike.
Mike,
Yeah.
why don't you put your arm or your hand?
That?
He's too tall. Let me do it to him. No, I don't think that goes that way.
I like it better with you sitting down.
Yeah, it's
We can
good.
do one.
He's too tall, let him kneel.
Oh.
Just nail down right there.
Kneel down on your right knee.
Looks like you're proposing.
Proposing.
Oh, no.
We'll take one like this, but I have to have one of you guys standing.
I've had enough shock for the day.
Not anymore. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now stand up. Okay, you stand next to him. There you go.
Like this?
Okay, good. Good.
Count.
I'll get back. You're taller
3,
than the other
2,
couple.
1.
Okay, 1,
Kayla.
2, 3. Now, one more thing, we have to get at least one close-up of just the faces.
Of who?
So that, I've got several this way, but now we have to, so that you can actually see what the dance was, not just what they were wearing, okay? So just
All
stand
right.
close together.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Did I blink for that one?
Did you? Let's try it again.
No, I didn't.
Are you sure?
Oh, I did it.
Okay. Can you
Might
guys
wait a
we're
little
going to
bit,
get
too.
us out of here without
Oh.
pictures? Right? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait, you weren't
I was
smiling.
late.
He was
I
late
late.
smiling.
My bad.
Okay, we
My
got
bad.
another one. Okay.
Okay.
I'll say
Smile
three,
like you're
and then I'll
enjoying
say
this
four.
evening.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Much better.
There it goes.
Do you want any more?
That would make me
Like,
happy.
we'll get pictures there too, so. Yeah.
Do we need
Oh,
one?
I'm
Going to your parents' house too?
I don't think so. My parents don't come.
Yeah, let's do another tree.
We
Okay.
need some greenery. Can you come outside? Okay. Good. Okay, good. Okay. 1, 2. Oh, come on, you have to smile. Okay. Are you stand?
Yeah, we're out.
And you know what time to be home?
Kim, bring them over here and they've each got to say something before they go.
Oh, that's true. You've got to have a slight interview session before you can go. John's waiting with the video camera. Otherwise, I'm the only one that's here. Yes? Come on, everybody. Now, if you have any questions you need to ask.
All right. Well, you just stop right there, and I want you guys to tell me what you're expecting about this evening. What you guys looking forward to?
All I want to do is have some fun. Have a good time.
Eat dinner.
And eat dinner. Where are you going to dinner at?
Stuart Anderson's Black Angus.
Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds good.
And
Very
you're going
good.
for hamburgers, right?
Uh-huh.
French fries too. Right.
Yeah. Going to 7-Eleven.
Okay, and these two here?
Well,
Hi.
we just can't show this to Nikki because she thinks I'm eating dinner with my parents.
Now we've got some blackmail on you, you know.
Some
That's
what?
okay, blackmail.
Okay.
We'll live.
Anything
Well,
else
I'm
you'd like
broke,
to say?
so, you
Can I
know.
take Tyler with me?
Oh,
For some reason, I don't think Bob
you-
would appreciate it. I don't think Steve would appreciate it either. Steve or Bob.
Okay. Well, have a good time.
Okay.
All right.
Tara! Tara! Tara? You back so soon from the date? You back so soon from the date? Forget it.
He already dropped you off. He's bringing you home now. Have fun.
I got that on picture where she back.
John, did you get a